All right, let's jump right in. Today we're digging into a historical cold case that is absolutely going to reframe what you thought you knew about the atomic age. Welcome to The Explainer. You know, if you think modern UFO disclosures are wild, just wait until you see this cache of newly declassified military files from the Armed Forces Special Weapons Project. We're breaking down a forensic audit that completely rewrites the history of early Cold War airspace. We're going to look closely at the actual physics and metallurgy described in these source documents to understand a phenomenon that literally terrified the deepest levels of the military-industrial complex.
Because, the government's first major panic, it actually wasn't about crashed saucers at Roswell. According to the source material, it was about a relentless series of incursions happening right over our most sensitive nuclear fortresses. We are talking about glowing green fireballs just dumping vaporized copper directly over America's nuclear stockpiles at Sandia Base in Albuquerque. The sources argue that the U.S. nuclear arsenal wasn't just being targeted by Russian spies, but was being systematically monitored and probed by an advanced, non-human architecture.
To really map out this crime scene, we've got to trace the timeline linearly, starting from the initial atomic detonation in 1945, right up to the resulting airspace breaches. So, in 1945, the Trinity test proved our nuclear capability. But then, starting in 1948 and going right through 1950, Sandia Base, which was literally the beating heart of America's nuclear weapons assembly, experienced these catastrophic localized airspace breaches. The panic was so severe, it actually forced the Air Force to launch Project Grudge in 1949, which the sources describe as essentially a PR smokescreen designed to hide the sheer vulnerability of our nuclear stockpile.
Now check out this staggering number, 209. That represents the exact count of documented unidentified anomalous phenomena sightings right near Sandia Base between 1948 and 1950. And this isn't folklore, guys. This is explicitly detailed in the newly declassified DOE UAP D017 file. Highly credible military witnesses, nuclear scientists, meteorologists, they were all documenting these brilliant, glowing green orbs darting at hypersonic speeds over heavily guarded munitions bunkers.
I mean, listen to this quote. It's from an April 1949 security inspection memo sent to the commanding general at Sandia. Permanent radio communications with the military police are delayed pending the arrival of radio frequency crystals. On the surface, sure, it sounds like a boring bureaucratic update, but if you read it forensically, it reveals a base in absolute lockdown mode. They were facing down hypersonic plasma anomalies, and their emergency response was basically to scramble for new padlocks and Jeep radio parts. They were terrified, and they were completely outgunned.
All right, moving on to Section 1, the spectral, fingerprint, and lab analysis.
Let's step out of the history books for a second and get straight into the physics lab. Because we aren't just relying on eyewitness testimony here, we're analyzing the undeniable physical evidence these things left behind. These orbs didn't just hover silently and vanish. They occasionally exploded violently right in the mid-sky. And when they did, according to the investigation, they left behind this strange microscopic copper powder residue coating the New Mexico desert. Now, to any aerospace engineer, precipitating copper dust, that is absolutely not the characteristic of a meteor or a weather balloon. And when we actually bring that evidence into the lab and run atomic emission spectroscopy on it, the math itself basically turns into a confession. This is just the absolute law of quantum mechanics at play. Every single element, when you heat it to a plasma state, emits a very specific wavelength of light. It's basically a thermodynamic fingerprint. So here is the crucial connection. The characteristic bright green glow of those fireballs corresponds perfectly to an electromagnetic wavelength of roughly 510 to 520 nanometers. Using the Rydberg formula for atomic transitions, we can empirically prove that this specific green glow is the exact thermodynamic fingerprint of ionized, vaporized copper burning in a high-voltage plasma state. It is a perfect match.
Okay, Section 2, Anatomy of Engine Failure. Which really begs the question, why were these highly advanced craft melting their own circuitry?
Well, according to the analysis in the texts, these craft were likely operating on early, highly unstable variations of magnetic field disruptor drives. We can actually autopsy these engine failures step by step. Step 1. They generate a massive, localized electromagnetic vortex. Step 2. This intense, high-frequency field induces extreme Joule heating right within the craft's own copper-based internal wiring. Step 3. That thermal energy violently pushes past copper's melting point and even its boiling point of 2,562 degrees Celsius. And finally, Step 4. the copper components instantaneously sublimate, venting straight out of the craft as a superheated green plasma. The physics driving this whole breakdown is Joule heating, where power equals current squared times resistance. Since copper is superconductive, when these mass reduction engines overvolted or tried to pull off violent kinematic maneuvers, the massive current induced so much thermal energy that it instantly melted the wiring. The source documents argue the military wasn't recovering space rocks out there. They were literally sweeping up the thermodynamic exhaust of an extraterrestrial anti-gravity engine experiencing a catastrophic material failure.
Which brings us to Section 3, the nuclear motive.
All right, so we know what the fireballs were, and we know exactly why they were dropping copper. But what's the motive? Why were they hovering directly over our Armed Forces Special Weapons Project bunkers in the first place? The text suggests the answer is entirely grounded in the physics of a thermonuclear detonation. When a plutonium core detonates, it converts raw mass directly into energy, releasing a catastrophic burst of gamma radiation. Those gamma photons hit the upper atmosphere, violently stripping away electrons in a reaction called Compton scattering, and that sudden displacement produces a massive high-altitude electromagnetic pulse, or EMP.
Now, while we humans tend to obsess over the massive kinetic and thermal shockwave of a nuke, the true threat to these hovering craft is actually that EMP, specifically the nanosecond E1 electromagnetic pulse. According to the documents, the intelligence operating these craft realized that our nuclear capabilities generated an E1 pulse so violently intense that it physically overloads solid-state electronics and propulsion systems before internal circuit breakers can even trip.
And that completely explains their tactical response. The sources describe these green fireballs as autonomous plasma stealth surveillance drones. By wrapping their hulls in ionized plasma, a physics concept the military actually later reverse-engineered, these drones absorbed early terrestrial radar while visually just looking like glowing fireballs. They were actively mapping the electromagnetic signatures of our fissile material. Basically, they were monitoring the one technology humanity possessed that could inadvertently fry their propulsion systems. So, as we wrap up this explainer and close the file on the DOUAP.D17 archive, we're left with a pretty profound question. Was the deepest secret of the Cold War not Soviet espionage, but the realization that our most devastating weapons were completely defenseless against and actively supervised by a non-human intelligence? Did the military-industrial complex launch Project Grudge simply to sweep up the copper powder, classify the atomic emission math, and keep the public totally in the dark? It completely changes how you view the dawn of the atomic age, doesn't it? What else do you think is hiding in the rest of these declassified files? Keep questioning, and thanks for exploring this incredible data with me.